What's up, everybody? Welcome to a special Thursday at home edition of The Sweat. So many sports to talk about today. MLB playoffs, first big hockey slate, EPL, what? But starting with American football, because tonight's game is why DFS and betting exists. Bears hosting the Commanders on Thursday Night Football. We got one of the lowest totals of the season, sitting at 38 points right now. So let's take a look at how low totals fared last season on the DK Sportsbook. As you can see, lot of unders. We only had one over. Baltimore at Cincinnati on December 26th. Chicago and Washington are both 2 and 3 hitting the over this season so far. So we have Ross Tucker, broadcaster, podcaster, former NFL lineman, here with us previewing the Week 6 slate. So Ross, the real question is where are the points going to come from tonight? Are you taking the over or the under here?
I kind of like the over, actually. I'll give you a few reasons why. Number one, these teams are fighting to rise up out of the 30s in my power rankings. So you know that there's a lot of pride on the line to try to raise up out of the Ross Tucker podcast power rankings. But in all sincerity, they both have some receivers that can make plays. McLaurin, De'Ami Brown for Washington, Mooney for Chicago. The quarterbacks, even if they're not making plays for their own team, they're making plays for the other team. So you might have some defensive touchdowns. And really, neither one of these defenses has been that great. I think people think they're supposed to be pretty good. Bears defense isn't that great. Washington's defense isn't that great. So believe it or not, I like the over. Although every time you bring up a stat like you just did, it makes me a little bit nervous. I'm still leaning over here.
All right, you talked about the quarterbacks here, Ross. So earlier this week, Commanders head coach Ron Rivera was asked why his team is 1-4 while the rest of the NFC East teams were off to good starts. And his answer was quarterback. Now he's since apologized for his comment and said people misconstrued what he meant. But as a former player, how do you think that went over with Wentz in the locker room?
Not very well. No, he knows better. Ron Rivera has been around a long time. Misconstrued. He was asked a question and he literally gave a one-word answer. Quarterback. That's all he said. And then later on, the PR people were like, well, he meant how long Wentz has been in the system. Oh, really? Because Daniel Jones is in the first year of Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka's system. The Cowboys quarterback is former Central Michigan Chippewa Cooper Rush. What are you talking about, Ron? What are you talking about? Terrible look. Because he's passing the buck. The exact thing that coaches say not to do, make it about team. And Ron Rivera's like, no, he's the problem over there. Meanwhile, Ron, I just talked about it. Your defense isn't good. You're a defensive-minded guy. I don't think it went over well at all.
Yeah, probably not. So who's the player you expect to have a good game tonight? Is Wentz going to come out and just light things on fire after that comment?
You know what? He might. He has 10 touchdown passes, by far the most in the NFC East. This is why I think the game's going to be entertaining. Justin Fields and Wentz will both make a couple of high-end plays where you're like, oh, that was awesome. They'll also make a couple of low-end plays. And you're like, that's gross. But at least that's more entertaining than Russell Wilson and Matt Ryan were last week. I'll take it. I'll take entertainment. I actually like David Montgomery. The one thing that I know about this game is the Bears actually run the ball pretty well. Fields' legs help. Montgomery's the bell cow. So I'll go with the Chicago Bears running back, David Montgomery.
All right, so who do you think wins here, Ross?
Who the heck knows? I mean, I keep seeing the spread on DraftKings Sportsbook toggling back and forth. I'm going to go with the Commanders because it's rally against the coach calling one of our guys out. Plus, these Bears orange uniforms are hideous tonight. Yeah. Hideous. I am a paid professional analyst making a pick based on uniforms. Yes, you heard me correctly.
We did. Commanders are 1-point favorites right now. So, you're not wrong. All right. Quick question. Why does it seem like we're getting so many bad primetime games? So this week we have Chiefs Bills playoff rematch in the 4 p.m. window and another Russell Wilson game on Monday Night Football.
Well, so a couple things. First of all, Cowboys Eagles Sunday night will be awesome. The Sunday 4:25 p.m. window, believe it or not, is actually the most watched window. That's a very valuable window for the networks. My guess is CBS said, we need that one. We're keeping that one because CBS and Fox are able to grab a couple games and protect them. this one must be one of them, which makes sense because there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on it. Should be awesome. And to answer your Russell Wilson question, Jesse, people didn't think he'd be this bad. People didn't think the Broncos would be this bad. People were kind of fired up. Oh, it's the Broncos. They're back. Russell Wilson. They got Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler and Javonte Williams. And they got a new owner. No.
Yeah, like, what do you think the problem is with Russell Wilson? I mean, reports are saying, like, he's got an injury now. We have analysts saying he's a poser on national television. Like, can he still cook, or is this man cooked?
I think he'll figure it out. He's been too good for too long to just think this quickly he's this bad. Now, maybe he's never a top 5 guy again. Maybe he's not a top 10 guy again. But I think he'll be a solid starting quarterback in Denver. New city, new system, new coach, new receivers. I think he'll be a lot better 5 weeks from now than he is now. Let's hope, by the way, because they might be on TV again.
Yeah, Ron Rivera would definitely have a lot to say if Russell Wilson was right? Well, like you said, Sunday night going to be a solid matchup, right? That team you cover still undefeated, 5-0 Eagles rolling, hosting the 4-1 Broncos. Now, Philly is a 6-point favorite. Can they continue the undefeated season and cover the spread here?
Well, I think they'll win the game. I think they're the better team. That place is going to be rocking Sunday night. Philadelphia is on fire right now with the way the Phillies are playing, the Eagles being undefeated. Tough environment for Cooper Rush and the Cowboys. Very tough environment. Plus the Cowboys' strength, their pass rush, their D-line. Well, that's the Eagles' strength. They got the best offensive line in the NFL. So I'd like the Eagles to win the game. But maybe this is the former player in me, Jesse. I would lean to the Cowboys in the points. That's a lot of points. I mean, Cooper Rush has never lost a start in the NFL. The Cowboys kind of have their formula. So I think the Eagles win the game. But if I'm going against the spread, I probably lean Cowboys.
Yeah, Eagles, Cowboys, obviously not Broncos. Just Russell on the brain, man. All right. What other spread, though, do you have your eye on this weekend when you're looking at the slate of games?
Carolina Panthers. For a bunch of different reasons. Why are the Rams laying that many points to anybody right now? The Rams are not good right now. Number 2, Carolina gets the fired coach, interim coach boost thing that people get sometimes. I also don't think PJ Walker, the new quarterback, can play worse than Baker Mayfield was playing. So I love the Panthers getting double-digit points. Give me all the Panthers this week.
All right, all Panthers. Do you think like McCaffrey will be actually better with PJ Walker playing?
Well, McCaffrey's been good on a per snap basis. They have the fewest snaps in the whole NFL. I mean, nobody has fewer offensive snaps than Carolina. Maybe with the new coaching staff, maybe they'll go to the hurry up a little bit. Maybe they'll go a little up tempo, try to get McCaffrey some more snaps because he's been productive when he's actually been out there. They just haven't been out there enough.
Yeah, I mean, everybody who has McCaffrey on their fantasy team is really hoping that's going to be the case. All right. If you want more Ross, which of course you guys do, you can check out all of his podcasts on his YouTube page or the DK page. You can also download them wherever you get your audio. So Ross, what's good this week that people should check out?
Well, Even Money podcast with professional bettor Steve Fezzik. We continue to kill it. People love that show. And the information that we get from Joe Dolan on the Fantasy Feast podcast, you need to listen to all the stats he has. Because like that one I just did about Christian McCaffrey, I just stole that right from Joe. I don't come up with anything myself. Just took that right from Joe on my Fantasy Feast podcast. There's a lot more where that came from.
All right, good stuff. Thank you, Ross. Appreciate the time as always. Now let's get a Rainmakers Thursday Night Football preview with Chris Costa and Alex Baker, a.k.a. Awesemo.
Okay, everybody, it's week 6, and Thursday Night Football is here, and by all accounts, it's not the greatest looking Thursday Night Football matchup, but there could be value there, and there could be a good opportunity to take home some winnings. And with me, I've got Alex Baker, otherwise known as Awesemo, one of the greatest DFS players ever to walk the earth. Awesemo, I want your thoughts on this Bears-Commanders matchup. It doesn't look good on paper, but any thoughts that we can take with us to potentially take home a big prize?
So the Bears, since Justin Fields is a running quarterback and their team isn't very good, he gets sacked a ton, like a ridiculous amount. So one of my plays this week is going to be loading up on the Washington defense. In Rainmakers, you can play 3 players and they all get the same score. And the chance that the defense is going to go off this week is a lot higher than your average week. So that series is ticketed to the top.
3 players from the same defense in a DFS showdown Rainmakers matchup. Who'd have thunk it? I never thought of it. I guess that's a nugget. File it away, use it, do what you want with it. It's Thursday Night Football, and it's Week 6, Rainmaker style. Good luck this week, guys.
All right.
All right. Welcome back to the Sweat. Let's take a look at where things stand in the MLB playoffs right now. So both NLDS matchups are tied 1-1 after the Braves and Padres picked up victories Wednesday night against the Phillies and the Dodgers, respectively. The 2 American League series set to continue Thursday with Game 2 for Astros, Mariners, and Yankees, Guardians. Okay. Nick Fryer is here. Steve Buchanan may be joining us. Nick, right now it's just a show for you. We're doing cover the bases. So we're going to cover each series from a DFS and sportsbook perspective. So first, Philly, Atlanta. Braves tied the series up last night. 3-0 shutout of Philly. Now the series heads to Philly for games 3 and 4. So how do you see the rest of this series shaking out? So Atlanta in 5 is plus 195 on the DK Sportsbook, while the Phillies in 5 is plus 380.
Yeah, look, I got to give the Phillies a lot of credit here. I did not expect them to get as far as they have in the course of the postseason. I thought the Cardinals were actually going to take care of business against them, but of course, they have those 2 horses on the mound in Wheeler and Nola, and that's huge. But when you go and lose a Wheeler start, you're going to be in trouble, especially against a team like Atlanta, who not only is good, but is also experienced as well as anybody in this postseason. Yes, I know they got the Ranger Suarez win, but they were more than likely going to have to get a win from somebody else besides Wheeler and Nola in this series, unless Wheeler was able to come back and be himself in Game 5. They still may need him to do that. I do think that going with the Braves is the right move here, but I also think you could go with the Braves to win this series in 4. I don't like them going up again. I don't like Aaron Nola in that spot personally. He got smacked around by the Braves earlier in the season. So I have no problem backing the Braves here in 5, but doing it in 4, I think is very much on the table too, because I do think they could steal this next game as well.
All right. Allegedly, Steve Buchanan is here. I know. Sorry, Nick. You thought it was going to be just a show for you. Steve, we're talking Braves, Phillies. They tied the series up last night, shutting out Philly 3-0. Now the series is going to head to Philly for games 3 and 4. So the question is, how do you see the rest of the series going? So Atlanta in 5 is plus 195 on the DK Sportsbook. Phillies in 5 is plus 380.
Yeah, I think Atlanta ends up taking this series here. I think the Phillies have been on a nice little run, which is fantastic and all that. But the Braves are the better team. I think that can be fair to say. The Phillies bullpen has been an issue. They lost one of their best guys because he was very excited about Bryce Harper hitting a home run that he was so excited that he injured his calf. I mean, that's not what you need in the playoffs here. But something like that, I think it's been such an issue here as we got lots going on. Pierce is like kind of in the shop. I don't know what's going on here. You guys need to get it together, okay? But I think the Braves take this in Game 4. You can get that at plus 240 for the Braves at 3-1 here. Aaron Nola, I think, is going to be in a tough spot here. He's given up at least 4 runs in 3 of the 5 starts he's faced the Braves in. So I think the Braves take this out in Game 4.
All right, Steve, Padres also evened the series last night with the Dodgers. So if you think San Diego won't be able to steal another game, you can get Dodgers in 4 at plus 240. So like, which series prop do you like in this matchup?
I mean, I've said this from the get-go, and I'm going to stick with it. I think the Padres end up taking this series here. So I'm going to just take them straight up to win this series at plus 130 because, I don't know how this is going to play out, but I think the Padres have the advantage here. The thing with the Padres is they started to get hot at the right time near the end of the regular season, and it's translated over here into the postseason. Like in the last 2 weeks of the regular season, their rotation had an ERA just above 2. The hitting is starting to get going, and we just saw that even last night here. They got Tony Gonsolin going in Game 3, which I thought was kind of it's odd to have him going. Only pitched 2 innings in his return to the rotation last week. So does that mean they're going to go with maybe like an opener and the rest of the bullpen there, which is odd because none of the starters in this series have gone deeper than 5 innings. Like the bullpen has been taxed on both sides already. So you would think that you'd want to try to use less bullpen as much as possible, but it feels like they're going in the other direction. If they win that game against Gonsolin, then they're going to face Tyler Anderson in Game 4. Padres are one of the better teams against lefties. I know Anderson has done well against this Padres team, but this Padres team, especially when it's hitting well like it is right now, One of the best teams in the league against lefties, 117 WRC plus against lefties during the regular season. I think the Padres steal this series plus 130.
Nick, do you think the Padres are going to get this done?
Yeah, I will say though, if you're gonna take the Dodgers, do it for 5 games. I would not do it for 4 games because I could see them winning this next one with Snell on the mound because the Dodgers do well against left-handed pitching. But then you got Joe Musgrove coming out the next game, so I do like the Padres in this series as well. Another bet that I think is worthwhile, not necessarily as profitable, but looking at the series total games again, I do think the Dodgers will win Game 3 with Gonsolin and Snell going at it. I do think Steve raises fair questions about Gonsolin too. I think in general, when you look at the Dodgers and the Padres, you have two teams that are similar talent level. Doesn't matter the win gap over the course of the regular season, and the Padres are the hot team right now. And with the Dodgers, no matter what, I don't care. I need to see like 3 years of quality bullpen management from Dave Roberts for me to fully trust him night in and night out against a team that's on a similar playing field, and that's probably a little bit hotter than them. So in the postseason, so I like the Dodgers here. You still got good value to take them to win the series. Why not do it?
All right, Seattle, Houston, game 2 tonight. What's your best bet for this game, Nick?
Let's hear it, Nick.
I think Steve's gonna like how I'm feeling about this game tonight. I'm going Mariners money line plus.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going with not Steve necessarily here, but the smart money, because if you look at some of the splits on DraftKings Sportsbook, 43% of the bets are going to the Mariners in this one. However, 59% of the handle is favoring the Mariners on the money line. I know Framber Valdez has done well against the Mariners in the past, but this lineup knows him. So I think that they can do enough to at least support Luis Castillo. And the Astros, they don't know him at all. I think you have like 3 or 4 guys that have seen him like three at bats a piece, and that's it. I love that for Castillo, who obviously is red hot, electric, and all that stuff. Another thing, too, if you're looking to bet the total in this game, again, sharps are leaning towards the under in this one. I'd rather go with the under on the 7-inning total, which is set at 5.5. Again, you got 2 quality pitchers going in this one, and just kind of save us from any late game heroics. Obviously, we've seen that already in this series, and the Mariners are capable of that as well.
Steve, the Mariners, this is your team.
Right. And I'm just taking them to win. Like, that's all you got to do. It's plus 140. It's a rare occasion that you're going to get Luis Castillo as an underdog. The last time you got him as an underdog, the Mariners were able to beat the Blue Jays soundly. It wasn't, he was phenomenal in that game. And like Nick said, made a great point. The Astros have not seen Castillo except for a handful of players here, and it's been very limited. Then we have Framber Valdez going for the Astros here. 6 runs allowed on 13 hits and 2 starts versus the Mariners back in July. And he kind of limped into the playoffs here. Didn't have a very good month of September against some under 500 competition, I guess you could say, coming into the postseason as well. So does that translate over into the postseason as well? For as much as a Mariners guy that I am, I think it's fair to say, even for somebody who isn't, that this offense has been much, much better than I think any of us would have imagined. I mean, for as good as the Mariners were during the regular season, they were near the bottom of the league offensively in a number of stats. They weren't a huge hitting club. It was the pitching that was really taking them through in these regular season games. Now it's been the opposite. The pitching hasn't been great, but the offense has been on fire. So imagine if everything started clicking. Give them the trophy now, right? But I like taking them here tonight, plus 140. I think it's a good spot against the Astros.
All right, Steve, game 2 tonight in the Bronx. Yankees, minus 135 favorite on the money line. So what are you looking at in this one?
Yeah, I think this is a good spot if they do get to play this game tonight to take the Yankees here against Nestor Cortez. The Guardians are putrid against lefties. That's their biggest flaw. That's their biggest weakness, if you can really find one, because really otherwise they've been great. But you look at their regular season numbers against lefties. They hit 239, 303 on base percentage, and a 343 slugging. 285 Woba. Like, they have no good numbers against lefties. So now they're going up against one of the better lefties in the league in Cortez, who can really screw with your timing with the way that he goes on the mound. We've seen it a number of times, how much he can throw off opposing hitters' timing. So I think this is a good spot to get Cortez at minus 135 for the Yankees. But of course, if this game gets rained out, how are they going to use the rotation then? Because now they get an extra day off here. Will they maybe shuffle it around? So if it does play, which looks like it might be a stretch, but I think this is a good spot to back the Yankees. I think this goes 5 games overall, but I think this is one of the first games of where the Yankees go ahead here.
Nick, how do you approach this game?
Yeah, I mean, Steve raises a good point that the Guardians have a tough time with quality left-handed pitching, but at the same time, when they saw Shane McClanahan go up against Shane Bieber earlier in the postseason, the Guardians were still able to take care of business. And I'm going to continue to back Shane Bieber while the Guardians are still in this series, or in the postseason, I should say. But again, the big problem here is how's the weather going to play into this? Obviously, it's not looking great. Doesn't look like they're going to get this in. If it looks like things are going to clear up, then I am actually going to go with Guardians money line. And it seems like if we're going to get them to play the whole way through, if it looks like they're going to play, but things could still be a bit spotty, the prop I actually like a lot is Nestor Cortez under 3.5 strikeouts. That's at plus 135 on DraftKings Sportsbook. The Guardians, for all their the issues that they have with left-handed pitching, they don't strike out against them. Since September 1st, 19.6% K rate against left-handed pitching.
All right, Nick, extra bases here. What's your favorite DFS play for tonight's action?
I mean, Shane Bieber. I know, again, I know like we're talking about running into issues where this game might not get played. Shane Bieber is going to be my guy, though, even though Luis Castillo, I do like him a lot in that spot against the Astros. They're still a tough lineup. And I know the Yankees are a tough lineup as well. But yeah, that's the guy who I like most. Again, got to monitor this game up until first pitch, but that's the guy I'd go with tonight at pitcher.
All right, Steve, DFS play.
Yeah, I was going to go the same route here if that game does play. Shane Bieber going against the Yankees, a team that does strike out a lot too. Like for as good as they are offensively, they do have some of the higher strikeout numbers in the league. Bieber is not the same strikeout guy that he was before sticky stuff got taken away. So you can take what you want from there. But he's still striking out over a batter an inning, and he doesn't even really need the strikeout stuff anymore because he's just inducing a lot of soft contact, leading to some easy outs here. So I think Bieber, if they do play this game tonight against the Yankees, that's going to be a solid spot for him tonight.
All right, good stuff. You too. Appreciate it as always. Quick break here. And then Jeff and Pierce are going to join us next for a Thursday Night Football Showdown contest breakdown. Stay tuned.
Gross.
You know, betting without a game plan is a little like skating a giant ramp without helmet and pads. I wouldn't risk it. And I wouldn't bet without a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook provides you with tools to set a realistic budget and time limits, so you're ready to bet responsibly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook and Casino apps to learn more about how you can practice safe bets.
October baseball is all about wild cards and wild wins, because with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays, you can boost your winnings up to 100% for each additional leg. DraftKings, I think I love you. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up with the promo code, and boost your winnings up to 100% for each additional leg. Action's so good, why bet MLB anywhere else?
Everyone loves an underdog story. You know why? Because it fills you with hope, makes you believe, right? Hold on now. Did you say any team? So now I can bet the overdog for underdog odds? Team Overdog, where you at? Let me hear you.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Bet just $5 to win $200 if your team wins. Action's so good, why bet NFL anywhere else?
Get that Game 7 excitement any day of the NBA season with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports. DraftKings is giving out $1 million in free prizes to celebrate the start of the season. Everyone plays for free, no deposit required. Every bucket, block, and board gets you closer to winning big. Open the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app, draft your lineup, and enter the NBA Free Contest Series for a shot to win big prizes. NBA action's so good, why play anywhere else?
Thursday Night Football coming your way this evening. So obviously we got a Millie Maker. So we need to make sense of this showdown contest. Here to do just that, DraftKings contributors Jeff Ulrich and Pierce Dietrich. It's the NFL 2.25 Thursday Night Millionaire, $15 entry, $1 million going to first place. Guys, Commanders at Bears. So help us figure out what to do here. We're going to talk captain value, and then we're going to switch and talk spreads, totals. So first, Jeff, let's get your captain for this showdown contest. Carson Wentz, David Montgomery, Justin Fields, three dudes who are going to cost you over 15K in that captain spot. Do you want one of them?
I mean, I definitely want Justin Fields. I know he's going to be popular. I know that, the Fields probably going to be thinking the same that I do, but I just don't know who else to turn to trust in this game. Justin Fields brings legitimate rushing upside. I mean, over 40 yards in each of his last 3 games as a rusher. And we have seen the passing stabilize a little bit. He's at least been over 20 pass attempts, which sounds crazy to say that's stabilizing, but after his first 3 games, it's actually quite a bit of an uptrend. So 71% completion rate against the Minnesota Vikings. This is not a good secondary. This is probably a worse secondary than he faced last week. The only thing that you have to worry about with Fields and the Bears is, can they just keep him upright? I think that happens in this game. And again, like, we just come down to what the options are in this game for showdown. We've got a timeshare forming on the RBs with the other side. David Montgomery is just a player I just don't think offers explosive playability. You could look to Darnell Mooney, I guess, perhaps for the breakout game, but is he going to get the volume? I just think you have to captain Fields tonight. You got to be overweight what everyone else is going to be doing on him too.
Pierce, how are you approaching the captain pick?
Same place. There just really aren't a lot of players to target. There's not a lot of players getting a lot of volume, and we don't really have very productive offenses. The defenses aren't that great either, but they do some things well. And really, it just comes down to both these offensive line are terrible, which really limits just every single offensive player on the field. And I mean, that's not good for Fields. We know that he's facing a 30% pressure rate, one of the worst in the league. But the good news there is he's going to have to scramble. He's got to have to move. And as Jeff alluded to, he's 40 yards rushing floor, 7 rushes in his last 3 games. He even had a 52-yard scramble for a touchdown taken off the board. He's scrambling a slightly more than he has in last season. You look at scramble rate, he has the second highest scramble rate in football. So it's just hard to pass up on that volume on the ground. And he is coming off his best game as a quarterback in terms of passing. 15 for 21 may not sound great, but compared to what he's done in the past, he had a 118 QB rating, almost an 80 grade on PFF. He's taking the deep shots that we like to see. And, Washington allows us. Washington brings a lot of pressure, but they also give up a ton of air yards, and they've given up 6 passes at 40 yards or more. And going back to Ohio State, that's what Fields did, and we've seen him do it in his last game, just taking those deep shots. If he hits a couple of those, you're going to be good to go.
All right, what about value, Pierce? Where are you finding that in this contest?
Everywhere. I mean, really, all these guys should be cheap and affordable because there aren't any good players. But you can go a lot of different ways. If you want to go real cute and play games, and I don't think you really need to, but Cole Turner is going to be on the field for half the snaps at tight end. He's at like $200, $300. I don't think you really need to go that low. He'll be an option, but the safe way is just play both defenses. They're going to get plenty of sacks. There's going to be plenty of interception opportunities here. Both offensive lines are terrible, and the pass rush for both teams pretty solid. So the defenses are going to be a play. The kicker is going to be a play. Also, though, Dyami Brown is going to be he had 2 very deep catches last week. Now he's questionable. Don't know if he's going to play. But if Brown plays, he does give you an option of hitting that home run ball for the Commanders.
All right, Jeff, there's no end to the value here, but how are you going to approach it?
Yeah, I don't know if value is the right word. There's just a lot of cheap players that could do something, but there's also a lot of cheap players who could do nothing. I mean, I think that the field will be looking at Dyami Brown if he plays, but again, we got the questionable tag. So we can't sit here and be like, yeah, he's the spot. And he also split snaps with Cam Sims. We've seen Cam Sims on the Commanders for the last 4 years now. And he always kind of pops up in these situations where he gets a shot. He's not a bad player. And all of a sudden his targeting goes up and he produces. I mean, I think Cam Sims at 1,400 is the actual value because he's so cheap and his target rate is going to go up. He's in an improved situation from a volume perspective. That's what we need to care about for the NFL. So Cam Sims is the clear value. If you're taking a shot, this game it's almost impossible to project because we have so many pieces under the top players that could go for 1 catch. They could go for 5 catches and 100 yards. Equanimeous St. Brown at 4,800. I mean, this Washington secondary is pretty bad. They've allowed basically a 100-yard game to a wide receiver in almost every game they've played this year. What we have seen from St. Brown, he's a big guy. He projects as a prototypical wide receiver 1. It hasn't translated to him doing that in the NFL, but we've seen him pop up with some big passes downfield already with Fields. Fields is coming off a good game. I think St. Brown might be the play over just regular Brown. Go with the St. Brown option. He's $200 cheaper, and he's the one who's healthy and has probably the better matchup in the secondary. So that's where I would go for a GPP play.
All right, let's move on over to the sportsbook and talk about the spread here. Commanders -1. It's basically a pick 'em. So who do you think wins, Jeff?
I mean, this is a spot where, like yesterday, talking about this game, and you kind of felt like maybe you should just fade the public and go with the Commanders. But I just don't want anything to do with Washington. I really don't. I mean, why would you want to? The coach is calling his quarterback a backup. Like, there's nothing positive about that. I guess Brian Robinson being on the field is a positive, and that's going to be a cool story tonight. But I think the Bears are the team that's actually headed in the right direction. I really like Justin Fields as a player. He's doing everything he can out there. Do they need to improve in certain facets of the game? Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about the pass protection here, but it just feels like a game where it's going to come down to the last possession. Washington and Carson Wentz going to do something stupid to shoot themselves in the foot, and I think Fields will take advantage. I'm going to take the Bears at home. We'll ride with the public here. They're underdogs, and again, like what has Washington shown to be favorite on the road for any reason? Let's go with the Bears.
Piers, you rolling with the Bears?
I'm going to roll with the Bears as well. And the public's perception may be a bit of an issue because we don't expect much from the Bears. So it's easy to say, hey, they're going in the right direction. And for whatever reason, the public expected a little bit more out of the Commanders. And so they look like, they're going in the wrong direction, whereas the teams probably just are neither going anywhere. It's just that we have low expectations for the Bears and ridiculous expectations for the Commanders. But if you watch the Bears last game, they got off to a rough start. Kirk Cousins started the game 14 for 14, looked like it was going to be a blowout. But then the Bears defense turned it around and was really solid in the second half. If that same defense shows up, then they should have no problem pretty much shutting down Washington. And like as I mentioned earlier, Justin Fields looked really good. He looked comfortable. Obviously, he was scrambling for his life at times, but he was really good at doing that and moving around. Montgomery looked strong. If his receivers if Pettis could catch a couple more passes, Chicago wins that game last week. And so I'm with Jeff. I think just directionally, the Bears are going in the right direction. They're at home. I'll take the Bears, especially if they're getting a point.
All right, Pierce, the total in this one is 38. Chicago and Washington are both 2 and 3 hitting the over this season. Obviously, it's a low one. Do you want over or under this?
Yeah, I hate doing this. This is not a fun slate to look at, and these Thursday night games have not been very fun for picking overs and unders. I'm going to take the under. It's a really low number, but if you look at recent games at Soldier Field, I think it's 18 of the last 28 have gone under. I don't know what the condition of the field is, but recently the field has been in some pretty rough shape, and that's going to hurt the offenses. The wind might be a factor tonight. You got to keep track of that. You factor all these things in: bad offensive line, wind. Offenses that aren't quite consistent may not be able to sustain drives. Maybe they settle for field goals. Maybe they miss field goals at the end. I mean, I think the yards will be there, but I don't believe they're going to find the end zone enough. And so I'll take the under on this really low number.
All right. The total at one point this week, Jeff, was 37.5.
Yeah.
So it's gotten up there a little bit.
It's but even at 38, I mean, I think that just that little move is enough to make me lean under as well. And the other factor is here. I mean, I was thinking that this would be a spot where, okay, we have a low total. We have, Fields coming off a good game, but the weather is a factor here. It absolutely is. This is kind of like, this might be like the first weather game of the year. It's just cold. It's going to be cold. Pierce alluded to the field at Soldier Field. Like it's just terrible. It's good for the Bears because they like to run and they like to play at a slow pace. And I think that actually lends a hand to the Bears money line pick that we're on here, or the spread pick. But for the total, man, with Washington too, a little bit banged up. I gotta lean under here as well. I just don't want to have to deal with, Carson Wentz and Justin Fields trying to throw the ball in the end zone and already with the conditions going against them too. So give me the under here as a play. It's not something I necessarily feel like I have to jump on, but if I'm playing the total on this game, with the weather concerns and just where it's headed, definitely the under.
All right, good stuff, you two. We'll be right back with NHL, but first, here are some more value picks to consider for tonight's Thursday Night Football Showdown.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into Steals of the Week presented by Larceny Bourbon. Larceny Bourbon, discover a taste worth stealing. So I'm Emerson Lancia. This guy is Steve Buchanan. We're here to find some steals or value plays for people playing in our DK Thursday Night Showdown contest, which we have two teams near the bottom of the barrel when it comes to scoring points. We have the Commanders visiting Chicago here. I need you to really dig deep and find some steals for people here. So let's start on the Commander side.
I don't know how deep we can dig, But I will go
That's
with J.D.
dangerous.
McKissic in this role here on the Commanders. They're basically using him as a wide receiver at this point. Didn't even log a carry last week. Brian Robinson Jr. returned to the Commanders. He's going to be one of their running back options there. But McKissic is averaging over 5 targets per game. I think they're going to be able to use him in that passing game during this one. So give me McKissic for the Commanders.
Anybody for Chicago who could be a steal for lineups?
How about a group of people? How about we go with the Bears
Options are great.
defense and special teams? I think that's the way to go in this one. Carson Wentz has been under pressure over 35% of his dropbacks this season. The Bears only have 8 sacks on the year. They could double that total in this game, potentially going up against Carson Wentz and the Commanders. So give me the Bears DST 4K in this one here as one of your value plays for the Bears.
Pretty good chance Carson Wentz has a turnover in this game as well, right?
Or 5.
All right, thank you, Stephen. Thanks to all of you for watching Steals of the Week, presented by Larceny Bourbon.
Welcome back to the Sweat. We bring in our NHL panel now. RotoWire's Paul Bruno and NHL.com's Pete Jensen. Fellas, NHL opening face-off time. Need your favorite plays at each position on the season's first big NHL slate, right? 10 games to choose from tonight in DFS contests. Our feature contest is the 80K kick save, which pays out $20K to first place. It is just $15 to enter, guys. So go check it out right now while we get you some picks for this game. So, Austin Matthews, let's start with the center position. Sitting there at 8,300 tonight. He was held off the score sheet last night in the Leafs opening night. They lost to Montreal. Would you go back to him tonight, Paul? Or are you looking for someone maybe not playing a back-to-back?
Well, you know what? Washington also played last night, so the playing field is level for that Leafs Caps game. As both clubs are coming off bad opening night losses, I'm still steamed about the Leafs one. I can't even tell you, but I'm tempted to still go back to Matthews. What a glutton for punishment, eh? Facing Charlie Lindgren behind a Caps roster that's missing Tom Wilson and Nick Backstrom among their top 6 forwards. It's a big edge for Toronto on home ice, but I think the biggest edge of the night belongs to Sidney Crosby and company. This is a shout out for AJ. I guess he's going to love this, but they got an easy one against Arizona. Very poor roster there, and Crosby's only priced at $7,000. I might even pair him with Evgeny Malkin, who costs $6,400. Sounds like I'm channeling my inner AJ Schultz. In fact, I better cut this out. But the minus 400 money line cut certainly tells a story here.
All right, Pete, what do you think?
I know Matt Murray's probably in Paul's nightmares, or at least he was last night after that poor performance in his season debut. I'm fading the Maple Leafs because it is a tough matchup. I see more bounce back appeal in the Capitals than I do with Toronto. But yeah, back to center, a couple of storylines jump out to me. Jack Hughes really going to be a man on a mission this season, I think, especially having some protection on his line with Andre Palat, who came over from the Tampa Bay Lightning in the offseason. So I'm looking for Jack Hughes to probably score a goal and have a big fantasy output against the Philadelphia Flyers, who are banged up. Couturier's injured. Ryan Ellis may not play all season. Ristolainen, I think, is out. So they're really a skeleton crew out there. So I expect Jack Hughes to take advantage in the first game for the Flyers under Tortorella. I think it's not going to be pretty. And then also keep an eye out. Nazem Kadri faces his former team, the defending champion Colorado Avalanche. Kadri has a revenge angle here. He was top 20 last year in not only points per game, but also shots on goal per game. So you love that type of floor for Kadri going up against his former team. And Colorado will be on the second of a back-to-back. This will be a much tougher game for the Avalanche compared to facing the Blackhawks, which was a cakewalk last night.
All right, Pete. Well, over on the wing, Alexander Ovechkin also didn't record a point in the Caps' loss to the Bruins. Pittsburgh's Jake Gensel gets a nice matchup against the Coyotes. So who are you looking to roster at winger?
So, yeah, Ovechkin's a nice play to score his first goal of the season. I think if you want to spend up, I'm looking for a little bit more value, though, and I'm tapping into the Jack Eichel line for the Vegas Golden Knights. Had a huge shots on goal output as a team, Eichel had a goal on 7 shots on goal, and Riley Smith and Phil Kessel were his line mates. Which guy do I like better in fantasy for tonight? I like Riley Smith better. He had 8 points and 12 shots on goal in 4 preseason games. In his season debut on a new line, he usually plays right wing. He was actually playing left wing on a line with Eichel and Phil Kessel, the newcomer, and he had an assist and 6 shots on goal. So that Vegas Golden Knights new line is kind of like their knights in shining armor type thing, where it's a real nice new wrinkle for them, and they're a bounce back team this year under new coach Bruce Cassidy. So I love the line combinations. I think it's going to fare really well for them to get back to the playoffs in the Pacific Division, and I like the matchup here against Chicago.
All right, Paul, who do you like on the wing here?
You know what? I can still see Ovechkin scoring against the Leafs several years ago in a playoff. He had 4 cracks at them in overtime before he got the 4th one in. The same shot every time. He's going to do it again tonight, and he's going to put it in. And so I think it's a sure bet that he's going to score against his former teammate, Ilya Samsonov, who'll be tending the Leafs net. If you're looking also for another guy who's got a great chance to score, it's Jake Gunsel. Should be a very popular choice, but if you miss out, he could have a big night against the woeful Coyotes. So I'm going to spend up on the wing for sure.
All right, let's talk defense here. Blue liners. Roman Josi, most expensive guy in the slate, top and Norris Trophy winner, Cale Makar. Do you need to pay up for one of these guys, Paul, or could you save some money and find some value?
I'll give you options at both ends, Jesse. I don't like to pay up generally for defensemen unless they've got really one-sided matchups, but it's hard to. So it's a strong consideration goes out to Chris Letang for $6,600. I've been hammering that matchup all segment long, and I'm not going to stop here. Doug Hamilton also for $6,400 against a very bad Flyers team. They're more sensible high-end options, in my opinion. On the other hand, if you want to look lower on the board, Brandon Montour of the Panthers is a strong consideration. He's now the second scoring option on the back end in Florida, and he comes in at only $3,600. This is a guy who's going to be on the power play for this potent offense, so hard to overlook that possibility.
All right, what do we think here? Pete, do you want to pay up for one of these two guys who are very expensive, or can you find some value elsewhere?
It's a tough matchup for Makar, second of a back-to-back against another cup contender in the Flames, so I'll fade that for the price. Also, Roman Josi and the Predators are coming back from overseas, so you never really know what that's going to hold in terms of all the travel implications and stuff like that. I'll go against the grain and go Buffalo Sabres defenseman Rasmus Dahlin. I loved his career year last year in goals, assists, points, and power play points. And he's a fixture on that first power play unit, which has some nice talent up there between Tage Thompson, who was among the goal scoring leaders in the league last year. I'm a big member of the Alex Tuck fan club for fantasy and reality and what he brings to that group. And that's the ripple effect on Rasmus Dahlin. And even for Dahlin at even strength, this is a team that's building from within. They're being patient. They're going to be playing guys like JJ Peterka and Jack Quinn. They're rookies. And also Owen Power is going to have a positive impact, I think, in terms of playing behind Dahlin in the pecking order and taking some pressure off of him. So all of this traces back to Rasmus Dahlin, who I really like against the Ottawa Senators, who are dealing with an injury to their top goaltender, Cam Talbot. Forsberg's not too shabby, but I do think there's a glimmer on the Sabres to start their season strong tonight, led by Rasmus Dahlin.
All right, Pete, you just mentioned the goalie situation. So not all goalies confirmed for tonight, but like which matchup do you have your eye on for rostering a netminder?
So if Ilya Sorokin starts for the Islanders, which it sounds like he probably will over Semyon Varlamov, I like his appeal fantasy-wise to rack up the saves. He was third in the NHL in saves per game last year and second in the NHL in save percentage behind only Igor Shesterkin. So I think Sorokin is one of the true elite goalies in the league. He's going to be facing the Florida Panthers on home ice. Good opportunity for the Islanders to, christen their new building the right way. Last year when they started there, it was just a horrible start, a string of losses. It's an opportunity for them to start fresh, turn over a new leaf with new coach Lane Lambert. And then also when you look at the Florida Panthers last year, top offense in the league, top in shots on goal per game, that means that even in a loss for Sorokin, he's going to rack up the saves tonight against Florida.
All All right, Paul, what do you think? Which game do you have your eye on?
One more crack at the Penguins. Tristan Jarry topping the board at $8,500, the highest win probability for me on the whole board. But if you want to save money in goal, go to Sergei Bobrovsky in Florida's game against the Islanders, costing $7,900, or even Vitek Vanacek backstopping the Devils in a winnable game against the Flyers, costing only $7,300. All three of these games give a very high win opportunity to the starters I'm mentioning, and the fact that two of them come in at under $8,000 should be where you're looking.
All right, Paul, let's talk big value here. Who's your favorite overall value play on this massive 10-game slate?
Well, where I start looking is, Jesse, is looking at the top 6 forwards in the lower range of the board, and there's a whole mittful of them tonight. Looking at the Devils, Yegor Sharangovich and Golden Knights, Riley Smith, they're going to play first line minutes and top power play minutes, and you can get them both for like $4,200. So they're on my radar. I also like Carter Verhaeghe to lines up against alongside Alexander Barkov on the Panthers top line while costing only $4,000. He's been there for a long time and was very productive last season. I expect that to continue. If you want to go even further into a deep dive here, look for a guy like Max Domi playing alongside Patrick Kane and the Flyers winger Scott Lawton. For $2,900 and $3,400, you're getting contrarian plays here who both play on their respective teams' first lines.
All right. Talk to me, Pete. Value.
So everybody's talking about these rookie defensemen out there like Owen Power and Jake Sanderson, but coming on the radar right now is Kalen Addison from the Minnesota Wild, and he's getting first power play opportunities. He had 4 points in 5 preseason games, played a little bit last year, scratched the surface, but had a power play goal in the preseason as well. And if he's out there on that first power play unit, that is a glaring value pick for DFS with exposure to Kirill Kaprizov, 100-point scorer from last year, and also Matt Boldy and Matt Zuccarello. So, yeah, that's like slam dunk. Check the lineups, make sure he's out there on the first power play, which he has been in the preseason, and roll with Kalen Addison. I still don't think many people, outside of the guys like me and Paul, really know who this guy and what is and what he's capable of. They got him from the Penguins a couple of years ago in a trade that right now looks really lopsided in the Wild's favor.
All right, good stuff, you two. Thank you for breaking down our biggest hockey slate of the year so far. The Sweat will be right back. We have one more break, one more block to go, and we are talking football. EPL is next.
You want to be a showstopper? You want to be awesome? Then you'll want to have a game plan. Whether you're a champion or a bettor, you got to be responsible. Have a realistic budget? Then bet within your means. Set a time limit, then stick to it. And use the DraftKings Sportsbook and Casino apps. They offer all these tools and more so you can practice safe bets. Can I get a mic to drop?
It's the biggest postseason ever. So DraftKings Sportsbook wants you to win big too. New customers bet just $5 to win $200 in free bets if your team wins. More teams, more games, and a November World Series? Huge. Just download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up with the promo code, and bet $5 to win $200 if your team wins. Action's so good, why bet MLB anywhere else?
Hold up. DraftKings, you're telling me that you're boosting same-game parlays? Well, that's big time. Actually, big is big enough. We're going to need a new word. Jumbo-munganous. No, monstremendous. Gargantuloso. See? The pink duck gets it.
DraftKings stepped up same-game parlays. Boost your winnings up to 100% for our biggest payouts ever. Action's so good, why bet NFL anywhere else?
What'd you say, Carl?
In 2019, DraftKings and the Larry Fitzgerald Foundation launched the Pinkham program, which has raised over $300,000 to support breast cancer research. Thank you to everyone who has participated in this cause that is dear to my heart, and to DraftKings for pledging to raise another $100,000 this football season for Breast Cancer Awareness Month in October. Visit DraftKings.com/surge to enter weekly Pinkham pools all October.
Final block of the show. We've saved the best for last. We're giving a DFS and Sportsbook preview of this week's EPL slate. We got DK Nation's Chinmay Vaidya and RotoWire's AJ Scholes here. Fellas, Chinmay's Arsenal squad coming off a huge win over Liverpool last Sunday, holding on to the top spot in the standings. This week, the Gunners will take on Leeds. So, Chinmay, what's the strategy here?
It's been a banner season so far for Arsenal, and I'm really excited to say that finally, through 10 matches or 9 matches, Arsenal are looking like a team that can actually contend for a Champions League spot. Usually our season is over by this point. So it's nice to see that I can have something to root for the rest of the way. This has been a high scoring matchup over the past few meetings between these teams. So I do like Arsenal and Leeds to go over 3.5 goals. That's plus 155 right now. Arsenal against the spread -1.5, plus 140 is also a good play. The Gunners have dominated this matchup and it's been high scoring. So both of those, I think, are solid plays for this game.
All right, AJ, what's your strategy?
Basically, the same thing Chinmay just said. I got Arsenal -1.5 goals here on the spread, plus 140. I think that's a good spot to be in. Yes, Arsenal are on the road here, but Leeds hasn't actually won a Premier League match since August 21st versus Chelsea. Now, of course, there were some postponements in there. We'll cut them a little break here, but I don't think them being at home is going to change the outcome of this one. If you want a little less risk than maybe that one, you could go Arsenal win and over 2.5 in the game parlays on the DK Sportsbook. That's returning pretty good value. Or bump it all the way up to what Chinmay said and over 3.5 in that one. I don't hate that play as a parlay either.
All right, let's talk about your team, AJ. Everton, tough task against Tottenham this week. Spurs are big favorites on the money line. So how should people look at betting this matchup?
Well, you just take Everton on the money line plus 600, of course, right?
Obviously.
Okay, maybe not that one, but I wouldn't classify this as like a revenge game because the parting was on good terms. But I do think Richarlison is going to be motivated to show himself in this one against his former club. I'd grab him at plus 175 as an anytime goal scorer here. You could also look at the total goals in this one. Over 2.5 comes in at -130. That's only a little bit of juice given up for a total that should be easily reached. I mean, 2-1, 3-2, very possible for this one.
All right, Chinmay, what do you think about this match?
I think the numbers are a little out of whack on this one just because of the last time these two teams played. It was 5-0 to Tottenham. It's absolute domination. But if you go back further, Everton are 2-2-4 in this matchup. And the plus 1.5 goals for Everton at -180, I know that's not tremendous value there. But the last time these two teams met was the only time that line didn't hit. So Everton plus 1.5 is the play here for me. I like the Toffees, so at least keep this thing close. Maybe they lose, but they only lose by a goal. I don't think they're getting blown out again in this one.
All right, match of the week, probably between Man City and Liverpool on Sunday. Erling Haaland has looked unstoppable, which is probably why Man City is favored in this match. Haaland is -165 to score, so you can't really get like good value on him anymore. So what's your best bet here, Chinmay?
Haaland to score and Man City to win is probably going to come in at plus money. So that's something that you can definitely look at to parlay those two. However, the last 3 matches in this meeting have all been draws. And Man City is coming off a pretty disastrous Champions League game. Liverpool, on the other hand, I know, that line is a little inflated because of Salah's hat trick at the end of that match. But Liverpool might have found something there offensively. So I like Liverpool draw no bet in this one is actually coming in at plus 100. So I'm going to take the Reds. I believe that it is it's in Manchester City. So a little bit of a tough task here for the Reds, but I think this is a good spot for Liverpool coming off some Champions League mojo here to get a draw or potentially even a win against their rival.
All right, AJ, what do you think?
Yeah, Chinmay mentioned the payout there on the Haaland to score and City to win. That's coming in the game parlays at plus 125 right now. I think that's a great spot to be in. And look, Haaland had the midweek match off for Champions League. They had him on the bench, but they decided not to use him, give him some extra time off. So I really don't hate the idea of taking him to score 2 or more goals at plus 290. It's better value than some recent matches we've seen him. I've seen that as low as like plus 200 for him to score 2 goals. So it's decent value. And he's just been so hot lately. He's coming in extra fresh, playing at home. I think it could happen.
All right, sweaty boot time, fellas. We've been tracking your bets all season long to find out who's going to win the sweaty boot. Now, most correct picks at the end of the season takes home the award, the sweaty boot. Last week, Chinmay lost his bet after taking Fulham to draw or win. They fell to West Ham 3-1. AJ didn't win or lose because you took Nottingham draw, no bet over Aston Villa, and that ended in a draw. So the score remains AJ 3 wins to Chinmay's 1. So what do you got this week, AJ?
Well, I maintain that should still be a 3.5 there, but I'll let it go. I'll let it ride.
I don't make the rules.
Look, I don't want to make Emerson wait this week. He's always looking for our tweets about this. So I'm going right at the Friday matchup here. Brentford and Brighton. Let's get this decided right away. I'm going to take the total goal target in this one to go over 2.5 goals. Comes in at plus 100, even money on the DK Sportsbook. These clubs have combined for 30 goals between them in 8 matches apiece this season. If you really want to go for the bigger payout, I don't hate over 3.5 goals for plus 260. But for my sweaty boots pick, I will stick at over 2.5 goals, even money here.
All right, Chinmay, come on, man. You need this.
Yeah, even though it doesn't really benefit me, I do see how AJ should potentially get some points there for last week's, push bet. Maybe we do like each win is 3 points and a push is 1 point, kind of like
there
we
you
do
go.
in soccer as well. So maybe AJ has 10 points and I have 3. We'll figure something out. But I like Leicester and Crystal Palace. I like both teams to score here, but no draw. That's coming in at plus 150. I think there's going to be lots of goals in this one. Leicester has given up goals left and right. But Crystal Palace has also not been that great over the last few matches. So I really like Leicester and Crystal Palace to put a lot of goals in this one. But I do not see a draw happening here just based on the way those teams have played in recent matches. So Crystal Palace and Leicester, both teams score no draw, coming in at plus 150. That's my sweaty boot pick for this week.
All right, producer Slate says you can't get half a goal. Show me where you can bet half a goal and I'll give it to you, is what he says. So just passing the message along. Fellas.
Just 1 point, not a goal.
Okay.
We'll do a point system.
I'll pass it along and see what he says. Good stuff, guys. We'll see how those bets shake out. That has been your episode of The Sweat. That's all the time we have today. Don't forget, Madden starts at noon. We got the slate tonight at 5, and we will be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Emerson's going to have you covered from home. See you tomorrow.